All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, we'd like to give our praise, honor, glory to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone that taught us the truth. And salutations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the globe. And the elect begins with 144,000. YAHAWAH, who the world ignorantly calls God and Jehovah. BAHASHAM is in the name. YAHAWASHI, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. The Rakakwa Doctrine Church, the Holy Spirit. For the brothers of the Great Millstone Chicago camp. I'm Brother Iwalum, you join with
Brother Adanya.
Brother YAHAWAH.
Come back at your brothers and sisters of the household of faith, the elder hope for right select with another lesson. And Lord, and we hope this lesson be edified through the spirit and power of YAHAWASHI. Once again, we hope this lesson is edifying. You know, we're just going to simply entitle this lesson, the last few days of normalcy, man. Because as we're approaching the end of Esau's kingdom, who are the Edomites, the so-called white man, beginning with these elites, man, these Amalekites, which proclaim themselves to be the Ish people, man. So ultimately, we're at the end of this man's society. And ultimately, at the end of this man's society, he's ultimately trying to fulfill his NWO agenda, man. You have a thing called Project 2025, because they're trying to have everything set up, ultimately by 2030, man. But this devil is ultimately moving at a speed that he's trying to get these things done, man. Because as the scriptures say, he know if he had but a short time, man. So ultimately, these are the last few days of normalcy. Esau Edom is going to come with those draconian laws, continue to lock down the society, continue to ultimately to take the rights away from the people, things of that nature. So ultimately, what's going to be next? That digital system, man. He's going to enforce this RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast according to Revelations 13 and 16. It reads all the way down to verse 18. He's going to force it upon the masses of the people, man. So these are the last few days of normalcy. You see all these people walking around, man, having a so-called good time, man. Living it up, having parties. You have this Halloween wickedness coming up, man. These are truly the last days of normalcy, man. Mm-hmm. You have National Guard station here, man, with these EBT, these different benefits getting ready to be cut off, man. These people are about to lose it. But y'all brothers got it. What y'all got?
It's the book of Job, chapter 20, verse 22. Because ultimately, all of this man's plans, his grand scheme, is going to be thwarted by YAHAWASHI. Job 20 and 22, in the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. When he is about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. Yeah, so this man's grand plan, his grand scheme, this digital system, that revived pretty much servitude of the world, man, that he's trying to subdue the world, man. He's trying to put that digital tracker inside of you, man. All right. All of those things that he's queuing up and preparing for and building. All right. When he is about to sit down and think that he is about to enjoy that work, YAHAWASHI is going to come and upset everything that he's worked for, man. All his whole evil scheme, his whole evil plan is going to be just pretty much burned to the ground, literally, man.
Mm-hmm.
So that whole thing that they got, that whole the Operation 2030, like the bros going into this Project 2025, all right, this transition into the digital world, man. It's something that they're trying to implement, but the Lord is gonna stop things, and we at that time. This is that point, pretty much, where things are about to get cut short, man.
Yeah. And we just even before the camera came on, we were just talking about it. How these jobs is being taken over by automation. AI, these different robots working these different jobs, man. And these people are going to ultimately be without a job, man. And this is what these elites want, man. They ultimately want pawns, man. They want workers. I believe it was a quote about one of the elites, man. I'm not probably one of the elites, one of these high up officials. You shall own nothing and be happy.
Yeah, Klaus Schwab.
Yeah, Klaus Schwab, yep. But just to back up that point, brother, this is the book of Job 5 and 12. It says, he disappoints the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. What is their enterprise? Their new world order, man. And at the top of their new world order, they're trying to have everybody see him, man. Everybody to know where everybody is at all time, control the payments that these different people are making, knowing where you are, knowing, tracking your emotions, what you feel. They're trying to be like the Most High, man.
Mm-hmm.
You see these people walking around, man. Ultimately, Esau Edom, these elites, they're going to force this chip upon the masses of the people, man. And ultimately, a lot of these people was going to ultimately bow down to that image, man, this new world order. But ultimately, it is, as it says, reading again, Job 5 and 12, he disappointed the devices of the crowd so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. As the brother Daniel was saying, YAHAWASHI is going to disappoint them, man. You know, as he's ultimately getting ready to eat, he's going to enjoy his new world order. It's going to be stripped away from him, man. You know?
You had something like boy.
Yeah, come. So like, this is Second Ezra's 14. It says Second Ezra's 14 and 13. Now therefore set thine house in order, and reprove thy people, comfort such of them as be in trouble, and now renounce corruption. So this is that turning point. This is that time where it's, you know, we're gonna have to fully rely on faith. So it says, let go from the mortal thoughts, because none of this shit is gonna matter. You know, a lot of this day-to-day, you know, thoughts that we have, or worries that we have, or concerns of our mind, is not even gonna be a factor.
Yeah, these different anxieties that you go through on a daily basis, you know.
It says, let go from the mortal thoughts, cast away the burdens of man, put off now the weak nature. Because we got a bigger mission at hand. It says, and set aside the thoughts that are most heavy unto thee, and haste thee to flee from these times. You know, haste to hasten the day, and remove your mind from the vibration of this kingdom, man. It says, for yet greater evils than those which thou hast seen happen shall be done hereafter. You know, so it says, yet greater evils. We see abominations on a daily basis. Our people are bugged out. The heathen are bugged out. You know, we're seeing you know, everything in this kingdom is built off of like disease. You know, like they profit off disease. They push everything. They hide the real cures to stuff. You know, it's just everything is just death and decay, man. You know, but it says, yet greater evils.
Salaki.
So good. But yeah, no, it says, yet greater evils than those which thou hast seen happen shall be done hereafter. You know, speaking to Ezra back then, but to us too, man, because it's going to be the time like none other.
Yep.
The most evil.
Exactly right. Brother can grab that Sirach 10, you know, since you had made that point, Nightbaya, you know, ultimately, you know, with Esau Edom being in rulership, they profit off a lot of things. And what's their main thing they profit off of, man? A death. You know, ultimately, you know, the things that you go through, you know, different sicknesses and diseases, man, they profit off these different things, man.
Bro, his pharmaceutical industry is crazy, bro. That's they're the biggest lobbyists, the pharmaceuticals, so they pay the most money to affect the laws.
Yep.
And these they're physicians of no value, like it says in Job. Because really it's not medicine, it's just witchcraft, it's just like drugs. So they got, you know, billions, they're making like Trump, billions and billions.
Billions of dollars.
They're making, bro, billions, bro.
And what's so crazy is with these different pharmaceuticals, what's so crazy about it, the side effects is worse than the actual thing that you're actually going through, man. So you're gonna it's like a rotation. You're gonna constantly go in and out of the hospital, man. And you're gonna constantly be having problems because these different side effects, it's ultimately messing with your body and things like that. That's what the Lord had made the herbs for.
Exactly.
You know, it was supposed to be in our food, but with this whole food, you know, industry being, you know, fucked up, Esau putting chemicals in the food and things of that nature. This is the devil that we're currently under, man. You know.
And then they pay to demonize the natural compounds that actually cure you.
Yeah.
You know, they pay to do studies. They pay, you know, for the FDA to make certain laws. It's just crazy, man.
I got that Sirach 10. Oh, you know, you can read it.
This is the book of Sirach 10 and verse 1. But knows Ecclesiasticus 10 and 1. It says, a wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. And why? We know that we're not under a wise judge right now, man. Everything that Esau Edom puts his hands on, he ultimately destroys, man. You know, and I was watching Elder Yahawah's you know, news and prophecy video. I think it was yesterday or last night. It was either the news and prophecy before the one last night. How ultimately Elder Yahawah was talking about, You know, once the true Israelites get in rulership, you know, YAHAWASHI, you're going to have the elect. We're going to rule this world in righteousness, man. You're not going to have, you know, people oppressed. You're not going to have people without food. Right. You know, you're not going to have people, you know, just out here just, you know, just through, man. Right. We're going to run this world in ultimately in a righteous rulership, man. You know, ultimately what? We're going to instrument the law, statutes, and commandments across the four corners of the world, and ultimately everybody's going to prosper, man. But under this devil, nothing is prospering, man. Even the earth itself is not yielding its full potential. At all. Sirach 10 and verse 2, it says, as the judge of the people is in himself, so are his officers, and what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein, right? So you're going to have the top is wicked, you're going to have everybody underneath the king that's going to be wicked also, man, because everybody follows the vibration of the king. You know?
It said in Proverbs, if the king hearkens unto lies, all his servants are wicked.
Yep. I believe it also says, I believe it's in Corinthians, it says the king is wicked, wine is wicked, women is wicked. Because ultimately, who's in rulership right now, man? If you can grab that real quick, I buy you. It says, verse 3, it says, an unwise king destroyeth his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. Right? The unwise king destroyeth his people, man. That's why Proverbs, 29:2? It talks about, you know, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. And look at the whole, you know, state of the earth right now. Everybody is mourning, even creation itself, man. Hey, Romans 8 talks about, you know, the creature waited for the manifestation of the sons of God. You know, so ultimately creation itself is waiting for a righteous rulership, man. You know, that's ruled in righteousness, man. Everything is suffering right now, man. It's only going to get worse until this man is ultimately brought out of power, man.
You know, everything's in disease.
Yep, exactly right. It says, verse 4 says, the power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. What is that one that is profitable? YAHAWASHI, the kingdom of heaven. You know, ultimately what? This world being ruled in righteousness, man. Under the law, statutes, and commandments of YAHAWASHI, man. You know, you can't play a video game. Let me just use this example. You can't play a video game without getting to the tutorial first. If you play the game how you want to play the game, it won't operate correctly, man. Mm-hmm. Hey, just, hey, as a big example, America, man. Hey, the women is on top of the men. Hey, Esau Edom is, you know, doing all manner of different things, you know, stealing resources from these different said lands. You know, everybody is unhappy. Hey, the cost of living is going up. You know, people is out here starving. You know, and that ultimately goes back to who's in rulership, man. Esau Edom. You know, and ultimately, once the kingdom of heaven is established, we're going to rule this world in righteousness, man. It's going to be everything is going to be run. You know, everything is going to be fair, man. Everybody is going to eat, man. You know, judgment is gonna be set for. Habakkuk says what? You know, when the law is slack, wrong judgment proceedeth, man. Mm-hmm. You know, so judgment is not going forth, man. A woman can leave a man whenever she feel like it, man. You know,
she get rewarded.
She get rewarded. She get rewarded for fucking being an adulterous whore. Mm-hmm. You know, and this is the system that we live in, man. And you know, wickedness ultimately thrives in this society. Mm-hmm. You know, but you had something to add to that, Abaya?
That first Ezra?
Yeah, I got it right here. This first Ezra 1 and 37.
4.
Oh, first Ezra 4 and 37 here, Salah. It says, wine is wicked, the king is wicked, women are wicked, and all the children of men are wicked. And such are all their wicked works, and there is no truth in them.
And you know, when I was reading, all right, it still speaks volumes nowadays, but it's even more so because the scriptures talk about how much more wicked the earth was gonna be, man. Mm-hmm. You know, so hey, like the bros going into before the camera came on, those last few days of normalcy, all right, now you about to get the worst time ever on earth because these was the worst works of the people on earth, man. So by default, righteous judgment has to be a very harsh judgment. So these last few days of normalcy is ultimately judgment for the world's wickedness, man. It's YAHAWASHI holding the people accountable for the things that the bros are going into. You know what I'm saying? So these last few days of normalcy, all right, it's called Jacob's trouble. Why? Because Jake has partaken in these things and actually is a fan of, like, they want this to continue. They want this system to continue, man. All right? They covering with the covering of Egypt. So, you know, hey, these things it's a righteous thing that's coming to pass, man. All right, Esau's severe acts that's about to commence, man. This purge-like state that's about to become your everyday normal, you know, it's judgment from YAHAWASHI, man. You know, that's why the second Ezra says why they had liberty, man.
Yeah,
All right, but YAHAWASHI, well, you don't. I mean, if you want to, but while you had liberty, man, you had the chance to try and repent to YAHAWASHI and offend less, but you didn't. So, you know, that chip is for your ass. These AI robots is for your ass. This military operation that's gonna commence is for the wicked, rebellious of our people. It's very deserved, man.
Right. You know, just to make this point real quick, you know, even going back to the title, the last few days of normalcy, right? This ultimately what ties into the judgment of YAHAWASHI, because even the scripture says, I have long time holding my peace. You know, I should be like a travailing woman, you know, tearing, what's that, the tearing and devour all at once, you know, loosely paraphrasing. Ultimately, the judgment of YAHAWASHI, the Lord is going to let the floodgates of judgment just overflow on you people, man. You know, and the Lord is going to use Esau Edom to do it. You know, everything that we're seeing to what? With that Revelations 12:12, the enemy coming down, you know, ultimately, because he knows he have but a short time, man. All this is the judgment of YAHAWASHI, man. You know, these people, you know, thinking everything is jolly and cool and shit like that, man. You know, women that ultimately did bad on men of the Lord just walked out, man. Hey, this judgment is for you, man. You know.
Want me to finish out this first?
Yeah, you can start back from the top, bro.
First Ezra 4:37. Wine is wicked, the king is wicked, women are wicked, and all the children of men are wicked, and such are all their wicked works, and there is no truth in them. It says, in their unrighteousness also they shall perish. Verse 38 says, as for the truth, it endureth, and is always strong. It liveth and conquereth forevermore.
Right, it says the truth is always strong, man, because with this knowledge, wisdom, understanding what YAHAWASHI gave us, it's ultimately going to deliver us, man. That was the Isaiah 33:6, for wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, man. You know, while all hell is breaking loose, man, which we're at the cuffs of Jacob's trouble, man, hey, this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding what YAHAWASHI has ultimately given us, it's going to keep us stable in the mind, as a lot of these people are suffering by the said afflictions that YAHAWASHI is going to bring. What's that? The four sword judgment that you can risk. That what's that? Jeremiah 15:2. You know, the teeth of wild beasts, the famines, the pestilence. All these things is for the wicked, man. You know, got these bitches, you know, having a good time. Hey, look, their EBT is going to be cut off November the 1st, man. You got these bitches with Section 8. Hey, look, the Lord is ultimately using Esau Edom to cut these different things, man.
Because of Jacob's trouble.
Yep.
You know, I had one.
Okay.
You know, but even still, through this judgment that's gonna come out, hey, it's also the end of Esau as well. You know, so this the book of Job, chapter 14, verse 5, because he think after this police state, after the implementation of the RFID, he thinks that he gonna just happily ever act after in wickedness, man. No, all right, that's a necessary thing for YAHAWASHI to bring judgment on Israel, but it's a two-handed judgment, because once you do that and you start to touch the elect, YAHAWASHI gonna put a stop to it himself. So it's a beautiful double-sided, it's a win-win, you know. But Esau Edom is going down too. All right, so it's judgment on Israel, judgment on the earth, in the end of Esau's kingdom. All right, Job chapter 14 verse 5. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. You know, so it's only so much that Esau Edom is going to be allowed to do. It's a time limit. It's like one of those sand. All right, you flip it and time starts to run out, man. All right, when it's over with, that it don't just refill, man. No, so you got to flip it around, because something. It got to be a new start, a new time, a refreshing, man. All right, but that one's not gonna run out though. That's gonna be an everlasting, always refreshed kingdom, which is the kingdom of YAHAWASHI. All right, the kingdom of YAHAWASHI, the kingdom of Yasharallah, man. All right, so Esau Edom, these last few days of normalcy, these are the bounds that Esau Edom he's not able to pass. You know, he's not able to go past this and think that he's gonna revive and return unto any position of power. No, he's gonna get eradicated, all right, from the face of the earth, man.
Yeah. Can I back you up real quick? This book of 2nd Ezra 4:37. It says, by measure have he measured the times, and by number have he numbered the times, and he does not move nor stir them until the said measure be fulfilled. right, it says he measured the times. It's a particular point that Esau Edom can't, pass, as the brother said, man. He's going to try to fulfill his NWO agenda by ultimately pushing his RFID hip amongst the masses of the people. But ultimately, what? He has this measure that he ultimately can't pass, man. He has his bounds that he can't pass, man. Habakkuk says the same thing. Though it tarry, wait for it, will surely come, it will not tarry. So ultimately these things are has a specific time where they ultimately come to pass, and at that point, the Lord is just ultimately going to do take this devil out of power. But it's a particular time frame that the Lord has gave this devil, man. And just to make another perfect example, what ultimately John the Revelator received the vision of the RFID chip on the island of Patmos. Was that 2,000 years ago? And it's coming to pass in our times, in our times, man.
Yeah.
Just going back to that Habakkuk, ultimately, though it tarry, wait for it, will surely come, it will not tarry, man. The Lord has his particular times where things are going to come to pass, and particular times where, nations begin to fall, man.
I got one. Alright, this the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12. I'm going to just start at 1. But, this is there have been times of evil in the past, so, but this is that last, and it's like a culmination. It's like it's going to be the greatest time of evil to come in these times, man. But so things are going to change, man. Like this, we live in right, we the GMS Chicago branch. All right, every day people is business. All right, people going about their day-to-day lives to run this business, that business, this amount of money, that amount of money, stocks. All these things have been a common, constant, everyday life, what you're used to, man. All right, the things that the times that we're coming into is gonna be a time like never before on the earth. Nobody is gonna be the opposite. It's gonna be an entirely different lifestyle, man. It's gonna be very troublesome, very evil, man. All right, the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verse 1. Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. Right, and that's what the prophets are out there week in, week out, day in, day out with the videos to explain to the world that YAHAWASHI has a coming judgment. The only way around that is you Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, the elect of those are going to repent and be granted protection, all right, in these times to come. These evil days, these evil years, etc. All right, so that's the whole message. That's the whole warning from the prophets, man. All right, verse 2. While the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. Right, so you don't work your whole life for this degree. All right, your whole life and your whole aspirations, you had your 10-year plan, and YAHAWASHI is going to come, and he's using Esau Edom to implement this police state where there's no work. Right, there is no work. All right, your whole life's aspirations was for nothing, man. Verse 4. And the door shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. He shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. So all of these things that your every day that you see, right? This whole the work system, entertainment system, the whole way of life, the way of living, how you get your food, the things that you do, being able to go here and there, all of those things are about to be cut short, man. All right, this is like the bro was going into the title of the lesson, the last few days of normalcy, and what's coming is the worst time to ever be upon the earth, man. All right, and that's the message. That's literally what's about to happen. So, people need to prepare themselves, man. It's not getting any better. Things are not going back to normal. That trial run of 2020, all right, look, the next time it gets implemented, it's gonna be for the rest of this place called America, man. For the rest of this place called America existence, man.
I got one to back you up, brother. This is the book of Isaiah 24 and verse 4. I'm gonna read down. Isaiah 24 and 4 says, the earth mourneth and fadeth away, the world languisheth and fadeth away. It says the haughty people of the earth do languish, and right, languish means to grow weak or to be weak, right? And why is the world languishing, man? Under this devil's authority, the Esau Edom, the self-proclaimed white man. It says, verse 5, it says, the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, and broken the everlasting covenant, right? That's why the world is in so much of a weak state, man. That's why the people, that's why the world is ultimately engrossed in wickedness, man, because of what? The law, statutes, and commandments is not being upheld in his kingdom. And it says, verse 6, it says, therefore hath the curse devoured the earth. It says, and they that dwell therein are desolate. It says, therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left, right? It talks about the second death in Revelation. So talking about those thermonuclear missiles in America being 100% on fire, man. That lake of fire, man. That's going to be the end result of America, man. And it says, verse 7 says, the new wine mourneth. It says, the vine languisheth. All the merry hearted do sigh, right? Because you got a lot of these people, especially these women on depression pills, man. They're trying to escape this reality called America, man, and how bad it's getting, man. So expect more people to off themselves. Expect more people to ultimately, because I'm scrolling through TikTok. I'm seeing, since this whole EBT thing, as we're getting ready to shut down, women talking about selling their bikes more, to ultimately support their 5, 6, 7 kids, man. You got people online ultimately mourning how they can't find a job, man, how they can't afford the cost of living, man. A lot of these people are mourning, man. Going back to that Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. When the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. And it says, verse 8 says, the mirth of tabret ceaseth. It says, the noise of them that rejoiceth endeth. It says, the joy of the harp ceaseth. They shall not drink wine with a song. Strong drink shall be bitter to them that drink it, right? Because ultimately, these people have been trying to hide, trying to run away from the reality that is America, man. By partying, bullshit, ultimately overdosing themselves with drugs, going to these different parties every single day, man, to ultimately to hide the fact that they're suffering, man. To ultimately to try to crack up a fake smile, right? And it says, verse 10, it says, the city of confusion is broken down. What is that city of confusion in America, man? Because if you read Revelations, the 11th chapter, it talks about that great city, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, It says, the city of confusion is broken down. Every house is shut up, that no man may come in, right? The lack of jobs, man. Hey, Amazon is laying off many of workers. Target is laying off many of workers, man, which I just read about like a day or two ago, man. Hey, Starbucks is ultimately laying a lot of people off, man. If you go down to downtown Chicago, man, it looks like a better version of the hood where Jake stay at, man. You got a lot of these businesses boarded up, man. A lot of these companies is laying off their workers, man. Hey, even to add on to what we were just talking about, automation being a thing, man. So a lot of these people are without jobs, man. And it says, verse 12, it says, and the city is left in desolation, and the gate is smitten with destruction, man. Because we know the cherry on top is going to be those thermonuclear missiles. But in between time, man, hey, America is, is falling brick by brick. The Lord is systematically destroying this place, man. Economically, systematically, the mirth for the people. The Lord is ultimately tearing this place down brick by brick, man. And we're seeing America falling. Hey, prior to 2020, man, hey, America has been on a constant decline, man. Hey, call her lying me. How about you, because ultimately, as fast as the white man go down, as it's the fastest that the sons of Jacob is ultimately arisen, man. Starting with the elect, man.
All right. I ain't have nothing.
Yeah, somebody buy you.
This says Sirach 18:24. Think upon the wrath that shall be at the end, and the time of vengeance when he shall turn his face away. So that's a big thing, man. Nobody's thinking upon the wrath that shall be at the end, except for those of the hopeful elect. So we know, pursuant to what's written in the volume of the book of the Holy Scriptures of the Bible, that it's going to be a horrific judgment coming to this place that we call America. So that's something to think upon. It says, think upon the wrath that shall be at the end, time of vengeance, when he shall turn his face away. It says, when thou hast had enough, remember the time of hunger, and when thou art rich, think upon poverty and need. From the morning until the evening, the time is changed, and all things are soon done before the Lord, YAHAWASHI. So, though it tarry, wait for it. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it said all things are soon done before the Lord, man.
Yep. I got one real quick. I buy you to back you up. This is the book of 2nd Esdras 7, and I'm gonna start at verse 42. It says, he answered me and said, this present life is not the end, where much glory doth abide. It says, therefore have they prayed for the weak. But the day of doom shall be the end of this time, right? The day of doom will ultimately what? You know, those thermonuclear missiles hit America, man. That's the true day of doom, man. YAHAWASHI making his second return to deliver that judgment, man. America being 100% on fire, that lake of fire, man. Hey, we're approaching the day of doom, man. As it says, the day of doom, the day of doom shall be the end of this time and the beginning of immortality for to come, right? The Lord is going to what? Crown his elect men. We're going to get those new bodies, man. And we're going to rule the world in righteousness. With YAHAWASHI at the helm, man. It says, wherein corruption is past, right? What corruption is past? Ultimately, us being out of this corruptible flesh and living it within the means of this wicked world, man. This is going to be a thing of the past. And it says, intemperance is at an end. Infidelity is cut off. It says, righteousness is grown. And truth is sprung up. And we're right. We're seeing that right now, man. Hey, the truth is being declared. What's that second address? What's that 6? I believe it's like 27. It says corruption is if you could just grab it real quick.
Second Ezra 6 and 28. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome. And the truth.
Start at 27, bro.
Second Ezra 6 and 27. For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. For as for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which hath been so long without fruit, shall be declared.
Right, truth which have been so long without fruit shall be declared. Because in actuality, the so-called white man began to start falling when his truth was being brought out to the forefront, starting with Abba Bivens. What's that, around 69, 70? Yeah. 1969 and 1970.
That was when he exalted his nest among the stars.
Yeah, and that's America's, that was America's peak. But ultimately, ever since then, America has been on a constant decline, but it's been even more noticeable. You know, hey, what, 2020, 2021, 22, 23, 24, 25, that stretch of years, you know, ultimately the economy is failing, things of that nature. But ultimately, the so-called white man ultimately began to fall when his truth was beginning to be declared throughout the four corners of the world, man. You know? And ultimately, what? His kingdom started to fall, man, because we're at the end of this man's kingdom, this man's society, you know?
Hey, because the judgment of YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI comes quick, because it says in Second Ezra, I liken my judgment unto the ring. There's no swiftness in the first. There's no slackness in the end.
That's right.
So that shit is going to hit, you know? It may be, though it tarry, wait for it.
It will surely come.
When it comes, you know, it's coming.
Jake, had anything else? Yeah, final last few days of normalcy, man. Hey, this thing is only going to escalate until this place is destroyed, man. These people are going to suffer. Hey, if you're not of the elect, you're going to suffer, man. You know, because it says, the righteous shall suffer straight things, and hope for the wide, but the wicked shall suffer straight things, and not see the wide. You know, so ultimately, hey, we're all going to be in this fucking mess, but the difference is we're going to have YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI to guide us and protect us, man, in these dangerous, perilous times that we're in right now, because these are the beginning stages of Jacob's trouble, man. And it's only going to escalate. Things are going to get worse, man. Hey, we're coming to a time, man, you're going to be walking over dead bodies, man. Hey, the cities is going to be stench with blood, dead carcasses on the ground, people eating one another, man. You know, hey, it's going to be like a scene out of a horror movie, man. You know, and this is what the Lord YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI is bringing, man. So this is the last few days of normalcy, man. Hey, and talking about us brothers, man. Hey, get around your brother as much as possible, man. You know, because in a minute, hey, it talks about, you know, and that second address, how it talks about a man shall desire to go into the city and shall not be able, man. Hey, martial law. You got the National Guard station out here, man. You got the ICE agents. These different things, man. So we're at the end, man, and it's evident. Hey, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of that followeth, man. So with that being said, we hope this lesson was edifying. We end out by giving all praise, honor, and glory to YAHAWAH BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI BAHASHAM MAKAKWADASH. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of great millstone that taught us his truth, and salutations to the hopeful alike that's around the four corners of the globe. Lord, when we hope this lesson was edifying. Till next time, Kwam Yasharallah, Shalom, and the Baba Ball.
Shalom.
Kwam Yasharallah.